Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise and really pull out the crucial insights from your sources. And today, we're tackling a big one, something that's not just coming, it's here, reshaping, well, everything. Our economy, our daily lives, we're talking about AI and automation, and specifically the future of work right here in America. You've definitely seen the headlines, maybe heard the buzz, robots, algorithms, AI. It's not just movies anymore. Right now, in 2025, AI is doing things like diagnosing patients, it's writing news articles, driving vehicles, even helping out in legal cases. And the sources you provided really lay out the central tension, don't they? Is this like a new golden age of productivity? Or are we looking at something that fundamentally challenges the idea of the American worker? So our mission today is simple. Dive deep into these sources, pull out the absolute most no info so you can get up to speed fast.
Exactly. And it's crucial to understand this isn't some, far off future scenario. These changes are happening now. They're tangible and they affect everyone from huge industries right down to, well, how we all do our jobs day to day. Understanding this immediate shift is, I think, essential. And the sources, they give us a really fascinating, sometimes challenging view.
Okay, let's jump right in then. Let's unpack how widespread AI has become, often, without us even noticing. I mean, many of us interact with it constantly. The sources really highlight this deep integration. It's in your smartphone, right? Predictive text, those voice assistants.
Yeah.
It's in the complex systems running your car. It's managing warehouses, logistics, even, surprisingly, helping kids learn in classrooms.
Mhm.
And it's quietly taking over tasks that, well, used to be purely human. Think about chatbots. They're handling much more complex customer service issues now, or algorithms managing huge supply chains, optimizing delivery routes, predicting inventory needs, way beyond what a person could track.
Right. The scale is incredible.
Yeah. And it's not just the routine stuff either. AI is getting creative,
Yeah.
generating art, music, even news stories we read. What really stands out from the sources is this idea of 2025 being a kind of breakthrough year, a point where AI adoption isn't just pilots or experiments anymore, but it's going wide across almost every industry.
Yeah. And what's illuminating there, I think, is why 2025 feels like that tipping point. It's not just one new invention. It's more like a convergence.
Yeah.
Existing AI models getting much better, more computing power being available, plus all this data we now have. It's pushed AI out of the labs and into the real world, and it's happening fast.
Right.
So those everyday examples you mentioned, the drone routes, the music composition, they're just the surface. They signal this massive shift underneath in the economy and society. AI is moving past just helping humans to actually operating autonomously in a lot of roles. That's the big insight here.
Okay, so this rise of AI, it inevitably leads to the tough question, the one everyone's asking. Which jobs are actually disappearing? And the sources, well, they don't really sugarcoat it. They give some pretty clear examples. Truck drivers, for one. Autonomous vehicle tech is advancing fast, posing a real threat there.
Definitely.
The retail cashiers, too. You see self-checkouts everywhere, plus the huge shift to online shopping and manufacturing. Well, that's been moving towards robotics for decades, needing fewer actual people on the line.
Long-term trend, yeah.
But here's what really jumped out at me from the source material. The risk isn't just limited to those, let's say, blue-collar jobs. It's hitting traditionally secure white-collar roles, too. Accountants, paralegals.
Even journalists and coders.
Exactly, even coders, which might surprise some people. And the number the sources point to is, frankly, startling. Up to 40% of U.S. jobs could be impacted by AI in just the next decade. 40%.
Yeah, it's a huge number.
That's nearly half the workforce potentially facing some kind of major shift.
And this forces us to make a really important distinction, I think. That 40% figure.
Yeah.
It's not all about jobs just vanishing overnight. It's more about a fundamental redefinition of what people do in their jobs.
Okay.
Many of these roles, especially the white-collar ones, involve tasks that are, repetitive or involve processing lots of data or follow clear rules. And that's exactly where AI shines: speed, accuracy, spotting patterns.
Right.
So an accountant might still be an accountant, but the software they use for auditing, much, much smarter. A paralegal might spend way less time reviewing standard documents because AI can do that initial pass. The key takeaway, I think, is less about mass unemployment tomorrow and more about this urgent need for people to adapt and reskill very quickly.
Adapt, right.
The jobs that stick around will likely involve working alongside AI, collaborating with it. It changes what skilled even means.
So a massive reskilling challenge. Okay, given that disruption, let's pivot to the opportunities. Can't be all bad news, right? What new roles are actually being created by this AI wave?
No, it's definitely not all losses.
Your sources do highlight some high-demand areas. Completely new jobs are popping up. Things like AI engineers, the people actually building these systems, robot technicians, keeping the physical machines running, and data analysts who are absolutely critical for making sense of all the information AI churns out. These are the jobs of the future, and they're needed now.
For sure, high demand.
But, and this is a big but in the sources, there's this major disconnect. They call it the skills gap.
The skills gap.
Millions of Americans just don't have the specific training or education for these new tech-focused jobs, which really underscores this idea that lifelong learning isn't just a nice-to-have anymore. It's essential.
Absolutely essential.
And while some tech companies are offering reskilling programs, the general feeling from the sources is, well, it's too little, too slow.
Yeah, the scale of the need versus the scale of the response.
Right. It just doesn't match the speed of change. It's creating a real bottleneck.
And if we zoom out a bit, that gap between the new jobs being created and our ability to train people for them, that's a huge national challenge. The sources point out that AI creates these really high-value jobs, yes, but often for a pretty small group of highly specialized people.
Right, a smaller pool.
Meanwhile, the jobs getting displaced, they often belong to a much larger part of the workforce, and their path to those new AI jobs isn't clear at all.
No clear pathway.
So the insight here is this isn't just about individuals needing to learn new things. It's about national competitiveness. If we can't bridge that skills gap efficiently, our economic growth could actually slow down. We could fall behind other countries who are better at adapting their workforce. It really makes you ask, are we training people for yesterday's jobs or tomorrow's reality?
A crucial question. And inevitably, this massive economic shift becomes political. How are policymakers responding? The sources lay out a few different approaches, and we should stress we're just reporting what the sources say here, not taking sides.
Right, impartial overview.
So on one side, you see ideas often associated with Democrats, like universal basic income, UBI. The idea being it's a safety net for people displaced by automation, giving a basic income floor.
The safety net argument.
On the other side, generally more aligned with Republicans, is the push for free market adaptation. The belief that the market will sort it out, create new jobs, and people will naturally shift skills without big government programs.
Well, the market adjusts, essentially.
And then there's this really provocative question that popped up in the sources. Should robots pay taxes if they take a human's job?
Yeah, that one gets people talking.
It's fascinating. A thought experiment, maybe, but it touches on real policy debates about revenue and responsibility. What seems clear across the board, though, is that lawmakers are struggling. Technology is just moving so incredibly fast.
It really is. How do you regulate something that reinvents itself every year, or even faster?
Exactly.
And it's interesting to look at the thinking behind those different policy ideas, as presented in the sources. UBI, for instance, isn't just framed as welfare. Its supporters see it as a way to keep society stable, keep consumer spending up if traditional jobs decline.
A pragmatic argument.
Right. And the free market side points to history, saying technology always creates more jobs eventually, just different ones.
Yeah.
The real tightrope for policymakers is, how do you encourage innovation, because that drives growth, but also manage the very real disruption it causes?
A tough balance.
Yeah, and something like a robot tax,
Yeah.
The sources suggest it faces this dilemma. Okay, maybe it raises money for social programs, but does it also discourage companies from investing in automation that could make the whole country more productive?
Complex trade-offs. And this isn't just an American issue, is it? How does the U.S. approach compare globally? Your sources touch on this, highlighting different national strategies.
Very different in some cases.
China, for example. Huge government investment, aiming to dominate the global AI field. It's a top-down push.
State-driven.
Then you look at Europe. Generally more cautious, it seems, more focus on worker protections, data privacy, ethical rules for AI.
Regulation heavy, yeah.
And Japan is interesting, too, using automation very deliberately to tackle their labor shortages, driven by an aging population.
Solving a specific demographic problem.
So where does that leave the U.S., according to the sources? They kind of summarize our position as being caught between innovation and inequality.
That's a good way to put it.
We're definitely leading in creating the tech, but the benefits and the downsides, they're not shared evenly at all.
And that raises really big questions about strategy and global standing. Each country's approach reflects its own values and priorities. China's speed comes from centralized control. Europe's caution might build public trust, but could slow things down. Japan is being purely pragmatic. For the U.S., the sources suggest This tension, our amazing innovation engine, versus this widening gap internally, is both our strength and maybe our biggest weakness. The real insight is that how we manage this internal balance, this inequality, will likely decide not just our social harmony, but also our long-term place in the global AI race.
So managing that inequality is key. Let's dig into that directly. Who are the winners and losers in this AI shift, according to the sources? The winners seem pretty clear-cut. It's the big tech companies, obviously,
Well, is building it.
the investors funding them, and this sort of elite group of highly skilled AI professionals. Their skills are incredibly valuable right now.
Sky high command.
On the flip side, the losers are identified mainly as working-class Americans, particularly those without college degrees. Their jobs are often the most vulnerable to automation.
That's the pattern the sources show.
And one really stark point is that rural communities, which often already face economic challenges, are projected to be hit hardest,
Yeah, compounding existing problems.
which intensifies those regional disparities we already see. So the likely outcome, reading between the lines of the sources, wealth inequality gets even deeper. The gap widens.
Connecting that to the bigger picture, this winners and losers thing isn't just about individual paychecks. It's about deeper structural changes. AI allows companies to scale up massively with fewer people, right? So profits concentrate at the very top.
Right.
At the same time, the jobs being lost at the working class level. Often, those were the jobs that offered a stable middle-class life without needing a four-year degree.
Exactly. Those pathways are disappearing.
And when rural areas get hit hardest, it's not just lost jobs. It's local businesses closing, communities hollowing out. It's social fraying.
Has social impact, yeah.
The sources suggest this deepening inequality can erode trust, fuel political division, and really strain the whole social fabric. It's a serious stability concern.
Beyond the economics and politics, though, this deep dive surfaces some really profound ethical questions, too. Human questions. As AI gets more powerful and makes more decisions, we have to ask, should it? Should AI be making critical calls in, say, the justice system? Or healthcare? Or policing? Areas that need nuance, empathy, human judgment.
Deeply complex areas.
And the sources talk a lot about the danger of bias baked into algorithms. If the data used to train AI is biased, the AI could just perpetuate or even worsen discrimination.
A huge risk. Unintended consequences.
And then there's this other angle, more personal, almost psychological, the potential for a kind of mental health crisis.
Yeah.
If huge numbers of people feel, well, replaced, obsolete, what does that do to our sense of purpose, of meaning? It sets up this fundamental tension, our human need to contribute versus the cold efficiency of machines.
It's fascinating how AI forces us to confront what it means to be human, really. When we talk about AI and justice, for example, it's not just about bias. It's about, can an algorithm understand mercy, rehabilitation, the perception of fairness?
Right, the human element.
Yeah. Or in healthcare, yeah, AI can diagnose, but what about the bedside manner, the empathy, the holistic care? The sources suggest AI optimizes, but it can't feel, not in the human way.
Wow.
And that psychological impact you mentioned, feeling obsolete, that's huge. For so many people, work is identity, it's community. If that fades, the sources hint we might need a major societal rethink about where people find purpose and value.
Rethinking purpose itself. Wow. Okay, so looking ahead, summing up, what are the potential futures laid out in the sources? They paint a couple of quite different pictures. On the optimistic side, AI everywhere, boosting productivity in farming, finance, you name it. Maybe hybrid workplaces become standard, humans and robots working side by side, playing to their strengths.
Collaboration? Yeah.
And maybe robust safety nets like UBI provide that floor for everyone.
The positive scenario.
But then there's the flip side, the stark alternative presented. A more dystopian view. Mass unemployment, social unrest. A world where AI's benefits flow only to a tiny elite, leaving most people behind.
A deeply divided society.
It brings us right back to that core question from the sources. Is AI going to free us from tedious work? Let us pursue higher goals? Or will it ultimately make us, irrelevant, slaves to the very systems we created?
And if we connect that to the bigger picture, those two paths, liberation or obsolescence, they aren't set in stone. The sources really emphasize that the future depends on the choices we make right now.
It's about our choices.
Policy choices, how we reform education, the ethical rules we set, how adaptable our culture is. The key insight, I think, is that the technology itself is just a tool. It's powerful, yes, but neutral. It's our societal structures, our values, that will ultimately decide whether AI leads to broad prosperity or deeper division.
Okay, that really brings our deep dive to a close for today. What's crystal clear from your sources is, well, the future of work isn't some distant concept. It's here. But as the sources aptly put it, it's unevenly distributed.
Very unevenly.
And America really is at a fork in the road. We can choose to harness AI strategically, try to lift everyone up, or we could let automation just deepen the divides that already exist.
A critical moment. And maybe as a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on, drawing directly from the sources, do you personally think AI's innovation will, in the end, create more jobs than it destroys? Or will the displacement win out? Something to consider.
A challenging question indeed. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.